of course, today he's here to talk to us about his latest book, and we hope not last. Beware of Limbo Dancers, a correspondence adventures with the New York Times. So can we welcome Roy Reed?
Arkansas Times News headline updates for Monday, December the 11th. Roy Reed, who's reporting on racial conflicts across the South for the New York Times, illuminated and energized the civil rights movement in the 1960s, died on Sunday in Fayetteville of an aneurysm.
It's still with us, and I don't know whether it ever will end. Probably not in my lifetime.
For the Times, Reed covered Martin Luther King's March to Selma and the violence at the Edmund Pettus Bridge and many other major civil rights struggles across the South. Later, Reed reported from the newspaper's Washington bureau in President Johnson's final year and afterward, and from bureaus in London and New Orleans. He taught journalism at the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville for 16 years after leaving the Times, and wrote several books, notably Orville Faubus's The Life and Times of an American Prodigal. His memoir, Beware of Limbo Dancers, was accepted in the Arkansas Times in 2012.
But certainly it's a far different story now than it was in the 1960s. I moved on to other things at the end of the 60s and pretty much stopped covering the race beat. But I know that it might have become outwardly different, but it still went on. There was still enormous bias in the country.
You were there, Roy, when there began to be tensions within the movement. Not everybody became convinced that nonviolence within the movement became, or people of color began to doubt whether nonviolence was the, if not the best way, the only way.
Was at the Arkansas Gazette in Little Rock. After 8 years at the Gazette, I worked 14 years for the New York Times, and for 9 of those years I traveled the South with periodic forays into other regions. Here's an odd thing. I always felt at home in the Upper South.